12 pounds. It features, representing the United States, Paul Banke from Azusa, California, in his 4th international bout. His opponent, from the Soviet Union, Rashit Kabirov, who was the bronze medalist in the '83 European Championship and the gold medalist in the Soviet competition Spartacad. Round 1 is underway. The towns count down to the longer tone that starts the boxers on their way in each round. And for the first time, the Soviets are wearing headgear. The United States adopted this practice in 1983. The Soviets, on the eve of this competition, agreed to wear the headgear here. 3 3-minute rounds, the white portion of the gloves, the scoring zone, the 3 ringside judges look for. The referee, in this case, Vladimir Dadeyev for the Soviet Union, does not have a vote, although he will at times intervene and bring down the rules of amateur boxing, and they are much different than professional boxing, as you likely have seen in the past. Good early action here. Paul Banke eager to take it to his Soviet opponent, Kabirov. Banke, the southpaw from Azusa, California. His last major win internationally against Jerry Duddy, a tough customer from Ireland, in a dual meet in Concord, California last October. The Soviets seem to be loosening their style, but this man, Kabirov, is still very stiff-looking, very upright, but now moving because he's forced to in the ring by Paul Banke. Paul Banke has lost to Yugoslavia, wins over Ireland and Great Britain, beaten out of the U.S. Amateur Championships by Jesse Flores. And he is improving every time we see him. He's 19 years of age, stands only 5'4". He's been boxing 7 years now. Kabirov, a 20-year-old student representing the Soviet Union, has been boxing 8 years and has his hands full with Banke, who's all over him in round 1. Good scoring blows thrown by Paul Banke. You see a lot of southpaws in Europe, so his style should not be confusing Kabirov, but his aggressiveness is forcing the Soviet boxer to back up constantly. Banke likes to let it all fly. He's got fair defense, but doesn't worry about it too much. Defense is a great offense in most bouts, and that's the pattern he's setting here in the first round. Remember, scheduled for 3 at the Olympic Sports Complex in Moscow, the Soviet Union. This annual and long-awaited confrontation between the United States and the Soviets underway. Last year, the United States scored a victory over the Soviets in Las Vegas, Nevada. Some stunning upsets recorded. Leading here 1 bout to nothing. Into the final 30 seconds of round 1 we go. It's been a good first round for Banke. The United States' strengths on the Olympic team, or the prospects for it, appear to be in these lighter weight divisions. And that's borne out by Banke's early performance here as we get down to the final 10 seconds of round number 1. Banke continues to impress. Great variety of punches he's throwing as the seconds wind down. The first round scheduled for 3.
The United States versus the world in amateur boxing. This ABC Sports exclusive is brought.
Round 2 is underway in the flyweight division. Paul Banke of the United States and Rashit Kabirov of the Soviet Union. A good first round for young Banke. That aggressiveness of his really paid off, and he's lunging out aggressively against his Soviet opponent again in round 2. Good left thrown by Banke. Another left in the face of Kabirov. You know, in boxing, it's pretty tough to win if you're backing up, and that's what Kabirov has been forced to do by Banke much of the way today. There is a Soviet judge, an American judge, and a neutral judge from Great Britain at ringside for this bout. Referee again is Dadeyev of the Soviet Union. Banke finding the mark time and time again. He's not allowing Kabirov to mount any kind of offense. He's been forced to the role of a counterpuncher almost from the bell to begin the first round. They're going to back him up again. Banke is forcing the action. Kabirov hasn't really much say in the matter. No question, Paul Banke impressed the judges in the first round and is doing so again here in the second. Body blow, then he goes to the head, fires the left, and drives Kabirov back again. Kabirov is all defense at this stage. The whistling in Europe and here in the Soviet Union, of course, indicates booing. And they are booing because they do not like the way Kabirov has handled himself against Banke. But the young man, 20 years old, representing the Soviet Union, hasn't had much choice against a very aggressive young fighter from Azusa, California. These bouts are important for boxers of both nations because the Olympic berths are coming up very, very shortly. And while this is not a formal Olympic trial, it does give the people to make such judgments an indication as to their talent for '84. Perhaps more so in the Soviet Union than in the United States when actual competitions take place. Who knows, this could be a preview if these two young men, for example, were to make their Olympic teams of what we'll see in the Los Angeles Olympics less than 6 months away. Good left, staggers Kabirov. He's been kept off balance constantly. That was the most telling blow thrown by Paul Banke. Banke not worrying very much about defense. He stings him again with a good stiff right. He knows he can hurt Kabirov, and that he keeps him so occupied, Kabirov is really unlikely to tag him. It's been a better round than the first, and that was a good round for Paul Banke here in the sports complex in Moscow. Stings him again with the hand, goes away to the body. He will not let him hold on, will not let him breathe as he backs him up all the more in the final seconds of this, the second round. A right at the bell by Rashit Kabirov of the Soviet Union, and that was virtually all he was able to throw against Paul Banke. Very impressive showing in round number 2 here in Moscow. He's got one round to go with what looks to be a pretty considerable lead in this 3-round amateur bout in the flyweight division. Roosevelt Sanders on the left, the American coach, talking to a very calm and confident-looking Paul Banke, and the confidence grew on Paul's part as the bout progressed into round 2. There goes the right downstairs, the left upstairs. That was the kind of treatment Kabirov got throughout that second round.
This is yours if you want it.
There was Purify as the other coach working with Roosevelt in the corner. Banke quietly now, getting ready for the third and final round against Rashit Kabirov. That is what you'll hear at the Olympic Games, a tone that counts down to the actual bell for each round. And this third round is underway. Again, whistling, getting all over Kabirov, the Soviet fighter. They thought he might launch a furious attack, or hoped he would against Banke. He may need one. A good left thrown by Paul Banke. But again, the pattern remains the same. Kabirov forced to counterpunch, and Banke not letting him even hang on to catch his breath as he backs him around his Moscow ring. A low head is the indication, and hitting on the break from the referee the day up of the Soviet Union. He hasn't had much to do. Banke has controlled everything in the ring. Banke switching leads, wading in, again showing the aggressiveness that has to have earned him points in the eyes of the judges in the first couple of rounds. It may not seem that fighters can get tired in a 3-round bout, but because it is only 3, the intensity is such that they let it all hang out, and Banke is tagging him good here in the third round. No question, as you hear some American fans, just a handful cheering Banke on. No question, this is Banke's best international performance so far, after matches against Yugoslavia, Great Britain, and Ireland, in which he won 2 out of 3. A standing 8 count against Kabirov. That is given when the referee decides if the blow is forceful enough, the bout needs to be stopped to give the fighter at least an 8 count to recover. Banke not willing to allow him to recover at all. Kabirov really outpointed from start to, I'm sure, finish, because I can't expect Banke letting up as he sticks the left in his face again. This crowd numbering 17,000 in the Olympic Sports Complex, apart from the odd whistling or booing in the direction of Kabirov, very, very quiet. But Eastern European crowds tend to be quieter than certainly the boxing crowds we're accustomed to in the United States. And doubly so in people like Kabirov, the hometown boy, is losing a fight as badly as he appears to be to Banke. So the American coaches not very concerned about how their boy is doing right now. Remember, the United States, with Paul Gonzalez winning a decision, has a 1-0 lead coming out of the light flyweight bout. And here in the flyweight contest, Paul Banke again continues to punish Kabirov into round 3. Kabirov is game. He's hanging in with him, but Banke simply won't let him mount anything resembling an offense. 30 seconds to go in the bout. The third round, flyweight division. So they're tiring now and getting a little off balance, looking a little more awkward because of the furious pace that has been set by Banke. It's an important test for these two nations of how they might fare at the Olympic Games. Right now, the United States looking mighty good in the lighter weight divisions as Banke. That is not a knockdown. Knocked the Soviet fighter off his feet, but it was ruled that he tripped, goes right on down to the final bell, and there they go. It's a good showing by Paul Banke. Turned in a fine performance here. So many thousand miles from home with a potentially hostile crowd, but he quietened with his performance against Rashit Kabirov of the Soviet Union. And a performance indeed that Paul Banke can be proud of. Here's some third round action now, and Banke even more aggressive than he was in the first because he knew he could get to this man. He could hurt him. He could force him to back up consistently and poured it on him in the closing seconds of round number 3. Almost non-stop action by Paul Banke from bell to bell. Now the decision. No surprise there. Paul Banke, the winner by a 3-0 decision, gives the U.S. a 2-0 lead over the Soviet Union now. And Banke in the third round wasn't content that he had 2 good rounds earlier. He was not going to sit back on his laurels. He pressed all over Kabirov and finally produced a standing 8 count late in round number 3 on his way to a big, big win. Paul, a bit of a slow start, but boy, did you come on in rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah, my coach, he told me I got to get on more busier. And first round was close, second and third I got to get on. If I don't want to get on, they can take the fight away from me. I found out when I went to Yugoslavia. I thought I won a couple of fights over there. They robbed me, and I thought I won them big. They robbed me, so I tried stealing this fight busier, be more busier, and I made it all right.
You made sure of this one?
Yeah, I'm sure. I worked very hard, just trained very hard for this. I've been running very hard to train camp in Colorado Springs. Come over here, I really want this bad. I'll go home and tell everybody I beat a Russian.
Yeah, you wanted it, and you got it. You sure did, Paul. Congratulations.
Thank you, Don. And I want to say hi to my family back in Azusa, California. I'll be coming home. I'm going to still train very hard for that Olympic gold, and I want that gold medal.
Okay, way to go.
Thank you, Don.
In Ohio, got off to a slow